Hello and welcome to the Leaders Insight Podcast May session. Proudly brought to you by Build a Future Team or BAFT, an initiative by the Peopleology Group. BAFT is a vibrant community connecting corporate leaders across Southeast Asia. Our mission? To drive workforce transformation through strategic programs, meaningful engagements, and impactful knowledge sharing. Whether you are in HR, IT, business, or leadership, this is where future-ready conversations begin. Want to keep the conversations going? Be sure to join our BAFT community group by scanning the QR code shown on the screen. Leaders Insight is our platform to spotlight bold voices and real-world stories from leaders shaping the future of work. Today's episode explores a powerful and timely theme. Well hung to today's panel, the human side of cyber, why your employees are your first line of defense. We often think of firewalls, encryption, and AI threat detection when we hear cybersecurity. But the truth is, none of that matters if one click on a phishing link brings it all down. At the heart of every breach or every prevention is basic human decision. Today, we are not here to talk about systems. We're here to talk about behavior, culture, mindset, and how we empower, not blame, our people to be the strongest link in our defense chain. Let's dive into the panel session today. And I'm extremely grateful and privileged to be hosting today's panel with two incredible leaders who are experts in this field. Firstly, it's Dr. Esther Liew, the Chief Digital and Transformation Officer of Evolution Commerce and Adjunct Professor of UNITAR. And second, Ms. Stephanie Liew, Chief Information Security Officer for Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa at British American Tobacco. Let's begin with a simple icebreaker, just to break the monotony, to start off on an exciting note. Cybersecurity is often seen as a technology issue. But today, we are flipping the script, just to warm things up. What's one surprising or funny incident you have encountered involving employees and cybersecurity awareness?
I recently come across this person who just started on cryptocurrency. Now we all know that there is a high risk, high gain. So when I asked him about what measure he take to protect his account from cyber criminals, he said this to me: I don't believe in antivirus. I do not believe in VPN because YouTube said that installing antivirus and VPN will steal your data. And I was shocked for a while, but he should not say that I'm going into cryptocurrency unprotected. I told him you're naked. All right, but I digress.
Talking about that, right? Just on a build onto what you said earlier, that it's interesting that people actually believe in things that may make you more vulnerable. The very fact that you install or you put in some infrastructure to defend against threats can sometimes be the threat itself if the right protocol can be true and the right compliance checks are not put in place, right? Now, all those I can encapsulate in one word called culture, right? So I'll go to Stephanie first. From your perspective as the Chief Information Security Officer, what are the most overlooked human-related cyber risks that exist today, and how can companies, or particularly maybe BAT combat against these risks and then turning this risk into opportunities for growth?
Right. I think in my opinion, and the most overlooked human-related cyber risk will be that we are still trying to drive secure behavior through fear and PowerPoints, right? The fact is, people are not the problem. It's the system we're putting people in is the problem, right? We overlook things like people have security fatigue, they are overwhelmed, they are not indifferent, and they sometimes overtrust. Like we human, naturally we like to be helpful, and that's what social engineer exploits. What we have done is we try to work around how people think, feel, and act. right? So let me break it down. Step one, I think what we do is we first speak to the person's head, right? That is the logical part of the human. The logical part of us needs clarity. So if we tell them, be secure, what do I do to be secure? So if you tell them, turn on multi-factor authentications, okay, that is very clear next move, right? So people are actually not resist to change. They are just unsure. Step two, what we need to do is we connect to the heart. So that is the emotional part of humans, which drives actions, right? If you tell them, for example, do not click on a suspicious link, okay, so it doesn't stick, right? So if you tell them one click, you might cause the entire factory shut down, right? So I think that sparks emotion. So people will do something when they find it is meaningful and personal. So once we speak to the head and connects with the heart, we need to look at the environments, right? We need to clear the way for them. So if you have heard of a interesting experiment before, so if you put the same amount of popcorn in different sizes of buckets, people eat less popcorn if you put them into the smaller size of the buckets, right? So it's often not the people, it's the environment. So we make it easier for people to exhibit secure behavior. For example, if you want admin privilege, you go get approval and make MFA the default setting and make security automatic, right? So we want to make it easier for them to be secure, right? So I think these are the principles how we run our cybersecurity awareness initiatives. So we celebrate people that report potential incidents. So it's a pride to report. It's not a chore to report a cyber incident. I think that's what really drives secure behavior.
So you're right when you say it's systems, right? Sometimes it's not the people. The people behave in a way that they are conditioned to behave. When policies are not helping, and the systems are not helping. So in your opinion, how would we want to get around this? Maintaining yet, of course, compliance is important, breaches are intolerable, but how do we put the human element into making sure that we see that not just from one angle, but from another angle?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, I think that's directly linked to what I mentioned earlier, that the fact that we tie our policy, security policy to human resource policy is we try to encourage secure behavior through fear, right? I mean, we want to move away from that. We want to empower the user to do the right thing. And we design the policy, we explain the why behind. I think it's the emotional part. And also I mentioned earlier is the celebration part, right? So we are not trying to penalize people. We encourage people to report incidents, we celebrate it, we mention it during town hall, call it out during team meetings, and we call it out during our newsletter. We celebrate reporting incidents, not punish them, right? So I think when people feel that this is a pride, I mean, this is something to worth celebrating for, I mean, they are likely to do that, right? Other than, oh, do I report this? I might get a punishment by my HR or impact my bonus, right? Yeah.
That's right. Now you talk a lot about behaviors and mindset and the emotion, right? So that goes into your space quite a bit because you've done quite a bit of digital transformation, even in your current role, in your previous roles. So you have done quite a number of change management programs that involves digital, which obviously invariably will involve security of data, etc., etc. How have you integrated cybersecurity into these change initiatives? Especially when employee mindsets and habits from a digital perspective are key to its success because everything is digital now. It's not just change management has to have digital, and security of those digital infrastructure is critical.
Oh, I love this question. Thank you, FT, for asking this. Let's look at the facts, yeah? In 2025, CrowdStrike came out with a report that social engineering attacks has increased by 442%. That's high. You know what this means? This means that it's no longer about technology. It is about people. hackers are getting personal, right? So all my digital transformation has to evolve. So today, all digital transformation approach needs to couple with what we call zero trust approach, yeah? But that is not enough. Now we got to add on to the zero trust approach with what I call adaptive trust. So what it means that is we got to train our employee to be aware about the sender personality trait. Is this something that they would normally send? If it's yes, then you have that trust, But if it's not, if this is out of the norm, then you got to look in deeper. You got to verify it. So in all new organizations, I'll tell them that enforce cybersecurity rules. Yeah, it is not an option that they can pick. Now, from the human aspect, what we do is we put in relatable, real stories. Stories from people from the ground, so they know that this can happen to them too. So that's our approach today.
Thank you, Esther. I think, the concept was zero trust. When you hear zero trust, this is not human zero trust, yeah? I think we need to clarify that zero trust is not human. Zero trust is scammers and threats. Maybe I'll just challenge that a little bit. Generally, the greatest challenge to zero trust, apart from it's not plug and play, multi-factor authentication, etc., it requires legacy systems to be overhauled, which includes a lot of costs now. We're not talking about costs here. Let's talk about behavior. Currently and in the future, customer experience is absolutely key. That will be the differentiating factor between competitors. And because of technology, the democratization of offerings is happening faster than ever, which means everybody can come up with something, copy and paste, ChatGPT, everything is so easily to be replicated. One that's a bit more difficult is experience, right? Now, I would like to put an assertion and to get actually both your views. User friction. Zero trust creates higher user friction because continuous verification, endless multi-factor authentication, micro segmentations to ensure that you are able to then make sure that those scammers are unable to do something that is generic, that they can then roll it out, right? This can reduce productivity, lead users, and this is an important point, it lead users to find workarounds through the multi-factor because it's faster for them, it's easier for them, thus creating more threats, which we thought that we'll be putting in to stop it. They find ways to get around it, to shortcut it, to go around, go under, go above, go beneath, so that they can still get the kind of experience that they do have. So I'll start with you first. So what do you think of that thought?
Wow, another great question, yeah. Here's the thing, yeah, habits makes a person. And people are kind of lazy. If you get the shortcut, you take the shortcut. Even I like shortcuts, yeah. And yes, the multi-factor is a pain. It's a lot of work. But the benefits outweigh the pain. And after a while, you get familiarized with using it, it becomes a norm. Here, a funny story. Recently, this person quite high up in my organization do not believe in multi-factor because of how it reduced his productivity. So then I keep getting indication that his account is being logged in at a suspicious area. So I went to his laptop and then I ran a full scan and I found 60 over trackers on his computer. I show it to him. This is what happens when you don't believe in protecting yourself. You compromise the entire organization. Yeah, and after that, strong believer. And also agent of change for everyone in the organization because this happened to him. He did not believe that it would happen to him, but it did. And you know what he said? But I didn't go to any suspicious website. I only read the news. I believe you. That's what I say. But look at your laptop. It's saying a different story.
Fantastic story. Okay. Stephanie, you have comments?
Right. So I think because I'm from a manufacturing industry, we have factory. Think that we can learn from workplace safety in the factories. If you can imagine that in the factory, there's a lot of signs or cues to remind you the proper attire or the gadget that you need to wear when you're in a certain area of the factories. When you walk on the stairs, there is signs and warning to tell you that you need to hold the rail and so forth. So this has been around for way before cybersecurity exists, yeah? So I think, for example, nudges, right? Nudges where it matters, right? On the staircase, we tell people hold the rail. Before going to a machine operation area, we tell people we need to have proper attire, need to have goggles and so forth. So when people trying to send emails with sensitive data, a pop-up might remind them, are you sure, and do you check the recipients and so forth. I think bite-sized and in the flow of work. So I think it would reduce the user fractions. And
Thank you. That's a surprise question, by the way, because I think that is something that a practitioner like them would think about almost on a daily basis. But for a non-practitioner like me, it's an inconvenience. But understanding why it is important, it's critical, right? Okay, now I'll go back to Stephanie now. If something is in the flow, it becomes second nature. In your opinion, is there a cyber hygiene behavior? When I say hygiene, mean is basic behavior. Just like when we use our phone, we lock it. We never let it just be there. When we finish something, we will lock it. Apart from that, what do you think is the most overlooked cyber hygiene behavior in organizations that you have seen? You can have more than one, but what are some of those and what can we do about it?
Okay, talk about vulnerability management, right? So obviously we focus on reducing business impact, applications, vulnerabilities, right? And one thing people do not do very well, I observe, is the advanced planning in terms of end of life of not only OS, yeah, I think applications that install on the server, right? So okay, OS is quite obvious, like if it's Windows X version, you know when it's end of life, right? I think that's quite obvious. The not so obvious one is the applications that's installed in the server, like your Acrobat, your web server that's installed in there and so forth. And we often do not see people do advanced planning for that. I mean, OS, I see people do advanced planning for that. So I think what we did, trying to do at least, to couple this information with a what we call a risk to revenue approach. So we couple all this together with the applications that have the most business impact, right? And I mean, for the legacy one, obviously that's what we first tackle. For the for the coming, would proactively present this data to our stakeholders to do that. And this is one of the top 3 things that we always remind them to do. And obviously we explain why this matters, right? And very often people would say that, oh, we are aware, it's just that we do not have budget. We do not have budget to do this, right? So that is very typical. I say, have you considered removing them? So what you tell people to do is logical thinking. Why people will change is emotional. It's again, I always come back to this point because I find it so far, this is the most effective way to drive change, to drive action. Yeah.
To me, the oversight here is very simple. Overusing the same password again and again. That happens to all of us, the best of us, because we don't want to keep too many passwords in our head. So I do see cases where the account was compromised because they keep using the same thing. So one of the hygiene factors that I would emphasize on the staff is that you got to make things difficult for others to guess what's your password. That's
As simple as that, right?
as simple as that.
Actually, I have another one with regards to that as well. Because some companies built in that you have to change passwords every 3 weeks, a month or whatever, a month, 2 weeks. They write those passwords somewhere. And where do they keep it?
Oh, yes.
In the same laptop or in their own phone. And when the phone get hacked, everything get hacked, right? So those are simple hygiene stuff that people don't really think about. Only when, like the colleague of yours, trackers everywhere, and then they lose something or their Facebook get hacked or whatever, and now they they know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll just get back to just reflecting on what Stephanie mentioned earlier with regards to her assertion about doctor, about the end of life, life, or the system. If cybersecurity threats are treated like a disease or like an ailment or like sickness, how would you come up with a program or a therapy to help people think from a prevention perspective rather than curing after the fact? What would be some nudges, as Stephanie mentioned earlier, that you would put in place, either from a training perspective or from a communication perspective, to combat this threat?
Oh, great question, FT. So here's the thing, yeah. If I go to the people like thousands of feet up in the air talking about cybersecurity using technical jargon, they are lost down there. So I have to go all the way to the ground and bring in real stories. Like the recent case, 67-year-old woman lost 2.2 million ringgit Malaysia to a scammer over a decade scam, yeah, because she met this guy in Facebook. Probably handsome, I don't know. But here's the thing, relatable, real story. Bring it down the ground to show them that this can happen to anybody. The point that I want to put in is scammers, they know you. They have been monitoring you, they know your behavior, they know what you want. And in the past, it's just a generic scam. But today, it's customized to you. It's very customized. So the threat of being scammed is much higher, right? So to bring that story to them, I have to bring stories about other people who got scammed, right? And then to point out to them that once you get scammed, you pretty much open a door to other scams. You have make yourself opened, and it's not safe. And I agree with Stephanie, put the fear in them about these cyber threats. But it is not just, that is not enough anymore. They are aware now. Now we implement alertness. I call it ethical vigilance over the network so that they, their family, their friends, people around them, me, will not get hacked. Because scammers is looking not just at them, but everyone around them. And that is how dangerous things are. So bring the story down to the ground. Put facts in.
Fantastic. I'll just have one addition to that. Personal, right? All of us have, older folks at home, parents. They are not so aware. And even when they tell them the stories, they cannot truly identify and truly appreciate. And that they are the most vulnerable, right? Calling them saying that your kid is being detained because of a drug bust somewhere is dangerous. So I told my mother that if anyone called you and said that I am so and so, I give you some questions to ask me. And these are not like, where do you go to school or whatever. Something that you and I only know. Nobody else knows this. It can be, what's my favorite color? What's my favorite food when I was 7 years old? At that time, there aren't any digital footprint yet. And these are what I call true blue multi-factor authentication, because you don't have to put it anywhere because you just know it. My first bicycle is blue because they don't know fear, but you need to understand that it may not be me calling. It can be someone who sound like me, can even look like me. It's not me.
Oh yeah, deepfakes.
It's fantastic now, right? Okay, I'll ask you one question before we go to the rapid fire. How can cybersecurity awareness, or beyond awareness, alertness, taking action, taking personal responsibility, to be embedded in the daily business operations? Emotions are important, but truly understanding what action to be taken. You mentioned about no fear of bringing it up, no embarrassment of bringing it up. It becomes a responsibility. The key thing is this, so that people don't just raise something up without checking themselves, because understanding what truly is a threat and what is a superfluous kind of threats, they don't really know the difference. How do you balance that in your daily operations? And this is specifically for you. Is there a difference of this awareness in the countries, in the end markets that you operate in? Malaysia, for example, how is it different from Middle East? And how is it different from Africa too, right? Africa too, MEA, Southeast Asia, MEA. Is there a difference? Or do you think that cybersecurity awareness is standard and generic across all geographies?
Right. So I think I briefly touched on this point just now when we talked about bite size in the flow and just-in-time nudges. So I think I will add on to micro-learning. So we hardly do any hour-long training anymore. So we do like 2 minutes tips and some interactive posts on our internal social media site and quick tips, daily quick tips. And we find it effective, especially if we want to push something that we want to stick. Like let's say a simple tagline, say stop, think, act, right? So when you spot something fishy, they stop and think and act. So we do that campaign daily, like 1 minute read every day. So it's for 21 days. So research show that if you keep seeing doing something for 21 days, it sticks, right? So I think that's something that we can add on to our cybersecurity awareness initiative as well. And also the nudges I mentioned. So when people obviously overwhelmed with work and life and juggle so many things, right? And they probably cannot remember all the tips that you have given. So I think that's where these little nudges come into place. But when people trying to save a file, a pop-up will ask them to remind them of secure file handling, for example. And when your team member is leaving the company, so a pop-up to the line manager that remind them to do certain things, right? I think these small nudges coupled with the in the flow plus the bite-size micro-learning, I think that's what we see that is effective.
And a quick one, the difference between the geographies.
Sorry. Yeah, the difference between geography, it's definitely is that there's obviously the cultural differences between the geographies. Like what we observe in my regions, I mean the Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa, I mean even within the regions, it's very different. It's very different. So we work with local teams to see how best to incorporate this kind of thing, right? I mean, it's in Malaysia, if we use like the current issues and like what you mentioned, the ladies that got scammed, I think this kind of stories, it needs to, but the Malaysia geographies, right? The demographic in Malaysia, I'm sure then we will need to find relevant stories in the respective regions to make it relevant to them. I think definitely there's a cultural differences in terms of how we run our campaigns.
Thank you. Esther?
Yes.
You have been a technologist. Your doctorate is in the technical side of things, but you have been in HR for quite a while. Interesting. Quite similar. I'm not a doctorate, but still a technologist. So there is this combination of technologists in HR, the tech in people, right? In your opinion, you have been shaping future talents, both in your HR role as well as your adjunct professorship capacity. What mindset shift do you believe the next generation of talent or next generation of leaders must adopt to build better, stronger cyber resilience?
First of all, I do not lecture students. Yes, my capacity in UNITAR is to help university to craft out good modules or syllabus to make them more prepared for the current digital first environment. So the keyword here is digital first environment. Yeah. So anyway, going back to your question, yes, for today's leader, what I emphasize most in the module is the awareness of the sanctity of data, right? And in this module, we talk about the dangers of any information, even if it's, mediocre, even if you think it's useless, but it is information. Because in any information, once it reaches to a wrong hand, the impact is devastating, obviously. So to all future leaders out there, I make them understand that data is, of course, the black gold. You generate data just by moving and by talking. And it is the leaders' responsibility and accountability to ensure that their data and the data that they generate together with others stays safe. Yeah. So when they come out as leaders, they got to put that in their forefront: accountability and alertness, and ensuring that they are protected.
Okay, you guys have lots of stories to tell, which is fantastic. Now, these last 3 questions, both of you will answer with 1 sentence. So you can take time to think about it, because 1 sentence, right? No elaboration. You got to be succinct. You got to be direct, candid, but to the point. And that's the most difficult. I know it's the most difficult thing to do. I'll start with Esther first.
Okay.
1 thing every company should start doing tomorrow to make employees their strongest line of cyber defense.
Oh, wow. And it's just 1 sentence.
Yes.
Well, the way I look at it, they got to get employees to understand that it's less of a trusting environment today. They need to inject a bit of paranoia, healthy paranoia inside. So the way I look at it, if I go to an organization, I will tell them, forget zero trust. Yeah. Right now, you will have to have less of a trust me, more of a prove it to me twice, and it's better safe than sorry.
Excellent. Stephanie, same question to you. Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I remember the questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go.
For me, definitely is start acknowledging and celebrating secure behavior.
Oh, truly short and sweet. Excellent. I heard a few things: healthy paranoia, be safe and sorry, and celebrating secure behaviors. Fabulous. Second question. This one's a bit more specific to you. What's 1 book you swear by when it comes to connecting people and cyber resilience? It may not be a technical book. It can be any book that when you read it, you can connect between cyber resilience and human behavior.
Right. For me, it's definitely switch from Dan and Chip Heath. Right. If you notice what I've been saying, it's exactly the same principle that is described in the book, and also the same principle how I design my security initiatives.
Switch, guys.
Yeah, it's not a cybersecurity book. It's about driving change when change is hard.
That's a good book.
Fabulous. I haven't read it, so I'll get it.
Right. So actually, I'm sweating buckets here, because when you say books, my first thought is manga. I read a lot of manga. So it's, you don't mind, instead of books, I share a cartoon. Again, embarrassed here.
Fantastic.
Cartoon Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph breaks the internet. I like that because it's relatable. I use that movie to show my son the dangers of scams, the dangers of suspicious characters in the internet world. So it is very relatable. It personifies all these things in a graphical manner. Yes. So
Wreck-It Ralph, guys. So, it's not a very new movie, but it's so real. I watched it. I loved it. And the last one. Doesn't really have to be short. Complete this sentence type of question. Complete this sentence, right? I'll start with Esther now. The future of cybersecurity is...
Oh, better safe than sorry.
Okay, better safe than sorry. So, twice that she mentioned it, so better be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
An absolute key principle to remember. Stephanie?
For me, it's the future of
The future of cybersecurity is...
human-centered, AI-augmented, and culture-driven.
Whoa. Succinctly put, brilliantly positioned. Thank you so much for 2 of you. I will close very quickly with there's a quick narrative, right? I think what we've covered here today is simple but powerful. Straightforward but insightful. Seems to be something that we do every day. But it is not so simple, because there need to be a change in behavior. And it is not a technology issue. It is not an IT issue. It is a people issue. And our employees aren't just potential risks. They are our greatest and often untapped line of defense. When we shift from blame to empowerment, when we shift from compliance to culture, we start to build real resilience. The best firewall is not built and installed by information technology. It is a well-informed, well-supported, and well-respected human being. Let's stop treating cyber awareness like an annual checkbox and start treating it like a daily behavior, embedded in trust and shared responsibility. And thank you to both Dr. Esther and Stephanie, and to all of you for being part of this critical conversation. The human side of cybersecurity is not the soft side. It's not even the hard side. It is a strategic side. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, LP. Thank you, FT.